Welcome to PowerHouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is PowerHouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
Hello dear viewer of SSBC PowerHouse with Akuch Maker. We are joining you live in the studio where we will explore on youth perspectives on political participation following recent leadership changes with hopes for improved governance and service delivery.
Following Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel's appointment as Vice President for the Economic Cluster, he heightened public expectations by presenting several key proposals to President Salva Kiir Mayardit. These include a commitment to ensuring timely salary payments for civil servants and organized forces scheduled for the 24th of each month, starting from March, through a biometric system. Additionally, he has outlined plans to strengthen non-oil revenue sectors, integrate the banking system, institute a wage bill, and implement financial regulations. These steps aim to enhance financial transparency and restore public trust and traction. Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel stresses that regular salary payments would improve public service delivery, administrative efficiency, and the government's ability to settle outstanding salary arrears. President Kiir recognizes these efforts as critical to driving the country's economic transformation and fostering a more resilient national economy. He called upon its stakeholders, including the private sector and civil society, to supporting and committing to these reforms for the country's long-term stability and development.
Starting this March, salaries will be disbursed consistently on the 24th day of every month, an essential step towards ensuring public service delivery, administrative efficiency, and economic reform. The payroll for February is currently being processed and will be disbursed in due course. In other words, it is on the process as per today. In addition, we have charted a roadmap to clear all outstanding salary arrears progress. Furthermore, to ensure the success of these reforms, the economic cluster has mandated the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning to implement key economic interventions in collaboration with all relevant institutions. This includes executing the policy directives from the recent SPLM leadership meeting and the 8th Governance Forum, particularly 1. Investment in non-oil sectors, 2. Implementation of financial regulations, 3. Enforcement of procurement regulations, 4. Fast-tracking the implementation of a biometric payment system, 5. Integration of banking and digital payment platforms, 6. Monitoring of the wage bill. His Excellency the President Salva Kiir Mayardit has reaffirmed the government's commitment to these resolutions and their effective implementation. The President notes that these reforms will also drive broader economic transformation for the country and create a more resilient economy. Therefore, I call upon all stakeholders, including the private sectors, civil society, to adopt this directive as well. Let us build a more transparent, accountable, and effective public sector for South Sudan, for our people. From the Vice President, Bol Mel, I am asking the Minister of Finance and National Security must actively enforce and monitor this effort to ensure full compliance. This directive is not up for negotiation, and no individual or entity should attempt to tamper with or undermine it. These reforms are critical to our nation's peace, stability, and progress.
Educational and leadership background, Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel, now serving as Vice President for the Economy Cluster and SPLM First Deputy Secretary General, is a testament to the transformative power of education, as he holds a doctorate in Business Administration 2016 from United States International University, Africa in Kenya. His journey functions as an inspiration for young people to strive for excellence and actively contribute to the national development.
So joining me for this discussion are young leaders from different political parties and activists representing the civil society. So we have Honorable Daniel Aboja Ali, the chairperson of SPLM Youth League. We have Honorable Guy Mayenluk, chairperson of the Specialized Committee on Youth and Sport in the National Assembly, representing SPLM IO. We have Honorable Moro Isaac, chairperson of South Sudan National Movement for Change, who is also SOA spokesperson. And we have Edmond Yakani, who is the executive director of Community Empowerment for Progress Organization, representing civil society to shed light on youth representation in government. Honorable members, welcome to SSBC PowerHouse with Akuch Maker. We have seen recently there is a big changes in the government and especially in the SPLM, where President Kiir recently reshuffled SPLM party, where he appointed Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel, a former Red Army member who was appointed. Some have criticized that decision while the rest have accepted the decision. So what are your thoughts on youth representation in leadership? Let's hear from the party representative, SPLM.
Thank you so much, Akuch Maker and my colleagues. Thank you for conversing here this morning. Regarding the recent changes in the SPLM and also in the government with regards to the position of the Vice President, first of all, let me correct one statement that some were not for the changes and others were. Maybe those who viewed the changes of the Vice President negatively were not SPLM members. All SPLM members welcomed the decision of the President and the Chairman for appointing Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel as Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan, and they also welcomed the appointment of Comrade Dr. James Waniga as Secretary General of the SPLM, and who also doubles as the first Deputy Chairman of the SPLM. Everyone is happy in the SPLM. This is a normal routine change in the party and also in the government. It is meant for smooth running of the party.
Let's hear from Guy. What is your thought on this leadership, the new changes?
In my own opinion, that the recent developments in the SPLM party, SPLM IG, they are not bad, especially for young people. Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel is someone who's closer to young people in terms of age. I think he might be below 50. I'm not really sure about his age, but he looks closer to young people, and it gives a lot of young people hope that they are finally getting represented at the top level of leadership in the decision making, and having one of them at the high level of decision making, it ensures inclusivity, for the youth, and it also makes the issues which affect the youth, come to the fore, more easily than when there is no youth at the table, the decision-making table. So it's a good thing. I'm not an SPLM member, but I think SPLM has not done a wrong thing to to bring a young person. I wish him all the best, and I think he will contribute. Personally, I hold a youth docket in the parliament, and we have a lot of youth-related things which need to be done, and this office of the vice president for economic cluster can be very essential. For example, we have the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, which is part of this agreement, and it has not been implemented. It's under Chapter 4 of the agreement, economic reconstruction, and through that office, which is held by the youth at the high level, we can implement it. So it's a good thing in that regard.
Honorable Moro, as the chairperson already of your party, what are your thoughts on this representation?
Well, thank you very much, my sister Akuch Maker, and listeners. The appointment of Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel as the Vice President of the Republic and also the Chair of Economic Cluster is a big step for us as young people. We do not know how it was done within the SPLM, but I feel that we are beneficiaries as young people. During the liberation struggle, which we all contributed towards, in a way most of us were SPLM until such a time we were able to get out of the SPLM and also form other political organizations. The liberation promise was that the young people were prepared as the seeds of the nation. And we are thankful to our senior liberators who were able to sacrifice their lives, guide us towards achieving a nation that we already have. And at some point, we felt that our generation was wasting away, especially the generation of 80 until today. We felt that they are wasting away because still the entire leadership is in hands of our elderly people, and they were not engaged in a very constructive manner, especially in high decision-making portfolios, like the position of vice president, which currently is being occupied by one of us who is part of our generation. In recent times, President has reiterated that he wants to give leadership to the young people. And I thought that this is one of the ways he's doing it, because the idea was not for us to grab it when we felt that our elderly people are taking it too much, but the idea that they have in calculating into passing the torch by bringing a young person to the board who shall represent the views of the young people and also open doors for us to be able to contribute is a very much welcome, because we the young people, we do not see him as someone who comes from the SPLM. We see him as a young man within our generation that will commit to peace and national unity, will empower young people, and also will be able to help us build the necessary infrastructure for the development of young people.
All right, Honorable Moro. So, Yakani, we have different reactions seen from the civil society, positive and negative. So, what is your take?
Yeah, thank you first for hosting me in this program, and thanks to my colleagues who have expressed themselves. I think in principle, his appointment is not a disputed anything. It's something that everybody welcomes as a young blood in the top leadership. Of course, as a hope, people are hoping that he will behave better, and we hope that he will not be hijacked by the elders, then become a young person who acted on behalf of the elders or subcontractor of the elders. We hope that he will really stand for the young people. And I think in front of him is the test of the reforms that the country is wishing, and one of it is the Youth Enterprise Fund. Because the Youth Enterprise Fund will have been handled for quite long, we've never seen anything. So him sitting as a chairperson of economic cluster, at the same time as at that age, at the same time he's from the private sector, he's somebody who have come to politics from business sector. At least if you talk of a successful leadership, you need to have leadership that their pockets are heavy. So somebody who's coming from that background, we hope that he will take the opportunity and use it for the best interest of the citizen in the country. So that's what I'd like to say. I think as a hope right now, we appreciate, but he is on test in terms of really somebody young like him at that particular top leadership responsibility, somebody who represents a constituency that constitutes over 70% of the nation, a young person that maybe need to stand up to his responsibility, challenging the elders before him that look here, this country is dominated by young population, you need to respond to interest. I think first we congratulate him for that. That's a good job that they have come into. And of course, my wishes is that he should not be hijacked by the elders, and he should make sure that he is working for the young people, because sometimes we have elders that they will bring young, but they will respond them to behave like them. So you see them, people, oh, this is one of us, which would have been among us, but unfortunately now the way he acted like the elder. So before the poison of the elders is spoiled, we need to come around to the consequence. And I think one of the things that amazed me is when he was giving his speech, he spoke to things that we have never had somebody the president to speak to. First, things like agricultural conference, which really I'm so impressed that he responded to it positively. We've been calling out for long because the young population need to produce food. And that's depending on Uganda. That's one important thing that I've mentioned. And you have talked about the economical reform. So he is handling a docket that deals with the lives of people. So if you talk about service cluster, it is linked to him. You talk about infrastructure cluster, it's linked to the economic cluster. So I think that's one thing that he should do. But also he should come and help under his docket. One of the things that I really wish, and I hope that His Excellency Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel is somebody accessible, I can access him, is to reduce the levy of taxes on young people who are running businesses. Among them is the borders, the retail traders, because we have a tax system that is not formalized, but it has huge impact on young businesses that are coming up. That for me really is the biggest issue to take. But also as a young, he should bring the technology into the government system. Because you remember when there's this crisis of Sudan and South Sudan, and where social media was shut down, quite young people have lost their business because they trade online. So I think he needs to bring the technology to increase, and I hope that he will really make us
do not cut you. We have seen when Dr. Bol assumed his office duties, he has promised a lot of things that he's going to do, and some of the priorities, where he has talked of the timely payment of salaries, and we all know how long it has taken the government to pay a civil servant. So he has promised timely payment of salaries and a reform in economic sector.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you think it should take to implement what he has said?
You know, economic reform is a political process that have huge people who are hesitant. One, if you want to do economic reforms, some of our top leaders' children who are beneficiaries of lack of a proper economic system become actual obstructors. And it's common in Africa. If you said in Africa, all reforms in countries is actually obstructed by the children of big people who are so influential that they benefit with the privilege of their fathers to divert or to evict or to walk away from economical reforms. And so that's now one thing that he needs to face it, is that he's going to face economical reforms where he gets resistance from so many children of big people whom sometimes he respects them. That's one thing that will take him quite a number of time. We need to take it. That's one. Two, sometimes also it depends on the party that he came from, which is actually the SPLM, which is the ruling party. It's also to what level is the party backing him up, because also the party has to that. Because sometimes you go for such reform, sometimes your own party members are actually obstructors of the reform. You go say like, who do you want to prove yourself? You want to be the clean one? These things will be doing normal. I think that's one of the challenges. When it comes to salaries, one of the challenges going to face His Excellency Bol Mel is how to clean the payroll. Because I was recently in Jongo City Commissioners Forum, and I had everywhere that even the names of trees, goats, and stones are in the payroll. So he need to play a big role to clean the payroll as a vice president of economic cluster. But clean the payroll is also dealing with the elders who reserve money through the payroll in the name of operational cost, and some of them ending up in paying school fees with the children. So I think that takes him a marathon. And already there's a case study of economic reforms in this country. In terms of, if you look payroll, you remember when Akuch was Minister of Labor, the challenges he faced. He's going to face the same. You know, so many people attempt the payroll to be electronic, to be what. So I think for me, he need to take that bold decisions. Second, also, if he goes to the economical reforms that he need to do, which he already promised people, and let me tell you, economical reforms in this country are one of the indicators that every citizen, even who's selling greens, is counting the time for that promise. So I think he need to translate those promises into reality. And I think if you can start with the salaries and make sure the salaries are regular, clear the payroll, and made it and deliver economic reforms, and quite so an honorable person like chairperson of the youth in the parliament or the committee will start speaking positive that at least we have seen reforms that is meeting the interest of the citizens. So I think for me is for him. He put himself on test as His Excellency Vice President Bol Mel, and I say he comes from the business sector. He can have the muscles to pull around and
Honorable Moro, we have seen young people who have always been appointed to different ministries promising heaven and earth. We are going to do economic reform, this one. Do you think this time around what Dr. Bol has said will be successful, or will go like the rest?
Yes, the point has been mentioned by my brother Edmond Yakani. For Vice President Benjamin Bol Mel to be able to achieve some of these reforms that he has outlined, especially on the economic aspect of it, there are a lot of factors that have to be considered. And one of it is the level of power that he is going to possess in terms of making decisions, because he is obviously going to find resistance from the beneficiaries of the system. I had worked one time in anti-corruption as an investigator, and I found out that there are so many people whose taxes have been waived, and these people have become richer and more powerful than the government itself. So this is one of the resistance that he is going to find, but the level of power that he will have will determine the success. Number two, the judicial reforms. If the judiciary is able to help him in a manner that the law enforcement is taken into place, such that some of these people can be brought to book when they defy orders, then it will also determine the level of success that they will have, and the will to do so. So first, His Excellency Vice President Benjamin Bol Mel has been put to test, and now this test is a test that is not only for him, but it is a test of generation, which call for us as younger people to unconditionally back him up in terms of giving ideas, in terms of fighting some of these battles that he could be the one to fight, such that we will help educate the people that it is time for this country to move forward. The president has been talking about finding solutions, and this is now his test. And as youth, if we leave this chance to go, defining ourselves as this is the SPLM, this is the IO, this is the SOA, this is the other political parties, and so on, it will not help, because this is a generational test that calls for our collective unity to support him to achieve some of these economic reforms that he has spoken about. The aspect of agriculture needs a stabilization of security, because you cannot be producing and at the backdrop there is insecurity that does not allow people to cultivate. Like some of these road projects, we lost engineers, we lost workers, some of these aspects of insecurity. So this is one of the major things that has to be worked on. And then also the level of empowerment in terms of training, bringing extension workers and so on. These projects have been a long time ago in existence, and I was close with the former Minister of Agriculture. They had drawn a lot of programs, and I hope he's going to start from there. Meanwhile, revisiting our old system, then we try to review such that we'll be able to achieve some of these economic reforms. Otherwise, without production, and also power system, our electricity has a bit of challenge. We need also to work on that. So the aspect of this economic reform is not only going to be something that will be said that this, but there are so many things that have to be done in order for us to accept that.
Honorable Guy, we have seen what he has said, the list of the things that he has mentioned that he's going to do as Dr. Bol when he took the office. What do you think the line ministries, this one that under economic cluster, what should they do to ensure Dr. Bol is able to implement what he has put in place?
The entire program has been laid out in the agreement, in the RRCs. And what is left is implementation. If you look at Chapter 4 of the RRCs, I am in the high-level committee on the implementation of the peace agreement. When we did the evaluation on the parts of the agreement which have been implemented and the parts which are in progress and the parts which are pending, it is Chapter 4 which constitutes the biggest chunk of what has not been implemented. And yet this is where the entire economic program, ranging from agriculture to petroleum revenues, to non-oil revenues, to other means of resources for the country to generate national income from. The entire program is there, and I think what can be said to become an important factor for the success of Dr. Benjamin as the chair of economic cluster is the implementation of this chapter of the agreement. And of course this chapter of the agreement is dependent on other factors like my colleagues have mentioned, because when we have no insecurity in the country we cannot do agriculture. When we have no insecurity in the country we cannot do mining. South Sudan has a huge potential in mining. This Equatoria and Central Equatoria, many parts of Barghazal, many parts of Upper Nile State. We have a lot of potential for mining other than crude oil, but we are not exploiting them because of insecurity. So we should also implement Chapter 2 of the agreement. We should make sure all these pockets of insecurity across the country have to stop. We unify the forces, we bring our security under control as a country. We also put in place all other necessary reforms spelled out in the agreement. We talked of judicial reforms, which are there. We talk of a permanent constitution. We talk of transitional justice and so on. So it's all about the successful transition. It's not about individuals. It's not about individual ministers occupying certain portfolios, but it's about the agreement as a whole, in my opinion. And I think Dr. Benjamin can thrive more when the country is on the trajectory of peace. This is when he can achieve most of the things which he spell out in his policy statement upon his reception.
Honorable Boja, youth have long criticized older generation of generals for failing to improve economic stability, political progress and development. Yet President Kira has always been appointing these young leaders. If you can see at different ministries, the Ministry of Finance, the Bank, Revenue, among others, Sport, plus the one that are with other parties, we can see young ones are being represented well. So what tangible things or changes have they made so far, since they have been appointed to different sectors of the government?
The issue is not appointing someone to a particular or young person to a particular docket. But what matters most is what do you do in that particular docket where you are appointed. So the young.
So what have they done, the young ones?
I think they have done a lot. The young people have done a lot. Some we have seen their successes visually, others we have not seen, but they have done a lot. Because as a young person, energetic, I think when you are appointed to a certain docket, what you do there is your first responsibility is to make sure you work hard so that you progress from where you are to another level. So as young people, I think when they are appointed, they work to achieve certain level ahead of them. So I don't always agree with the notion that when young people are appointed, they don't perform, or maybe they do not know what they are doing in the dockets they are appointed in. This is not true. Young people are doing a lot, and I think this is what informed the decision of the president to appoint a young man as a vice president in a very important
Don't
position.
you think the young ones are being tested here on what they should do? Because all this time the young ones have been criticizing the old one that they have failed. The economic sector, political what? Is it not a test that people will see what you are going to do as young people?
It is both a test and also transition, because no one stays forever in power. So for you to give power to the young people, you need to bring them gradually to the leadership position. It is the right of the young people also to participate in government and in power and in decision making. And this is exactly what His Excellency the President is doing now. So the young people are also right to work to be in the government and in decision making. This is not only a test. This is a proper way of transitioning power to the young people.
Yakani, before you can see the economic changes, how it has transformed from the way it was to now. We've seen there's a lot of changes and it is getting worse day by day. And as they are appointing young ones, the economic situation is becoming worse, as we have seen. So do you believe appointing young leaders to this key position is beneficial to the country?
In principle, having young people in politics could have been healthy for the future. But before we go to your question, I want to add on what Akuch have said. But also I have seen a trend. After young people are appointed, they're becoming more corrupt and more faster in corruption than the elder one. And I will give you some indicators. We are not speaking out of blue. In South Sudan, we have seen leaders who come. Check an Alpert. Look at the appointment of young people in Alpert and see what have they left behind and check. In terms of individual gains, yes. I have seen some of them with me in Munuki, they go to Alpert, soon you see them there in Tomping with 2-3 storage buildings. I've seen that. I've seen some of them around the office of the president, some of them around where they leave the residential area, they start raising storage buildings. At individual level, as I've seen. But in terms of the public, let us be honest, not all of them, few of them. But in terms of the public service delivery, for the best interest of the citizen, there are young people who have performed badly. We should not beat around the bush, we should give the scores. And this is a challenge that goes to His Excellency Benjamin Bol Mel. He should prove himself. Is he among those young ones who are opportunists for personal gain, or he's among those young ones that want to stand for the good of the best interest of the citizen or the common citizen? That's one thing that I like to make it very clear. Because why? I'm one of the person who would like to see young people in leadership. But other person who is disappointed by seeing young people in leadership, and this is a testimony to Benjamin Bol Mel, His Excellency Benjamin Bol Mel. I wish he should not cut himself off from the young people. One of the best case studies that young people like they sit here in the studio, let one of them find similar posts like Honorable Bol Mel. Access to them like as if you're asking Peter Simon, I want to see Jesus Christ. Very tough, they isolate themselves, they become very expensive, they forget their previous colleagues, they switch off their phones. With this technology of having 6-7 phones, they shift their lines. I wish that he should be somebody who is accessible to the young people, because he might have his generation work with him. That's one of the cases that I've seen. And if you go to the Ministry of Finance, the young people come from the Ministry of Finance. If you want to access that only helping guidance, is going to be challenging. So for me, for His Excellency Bol Mel to succeed, I wish he should take the model style of governance, in which he does not work alone. He worked with the friends, and he worked with like-minded people who are also informed. Not these beggars who mean Sabahle Asia Costera, just want to play cards, dominoes, people want to gossip on them of so and so, need to be removed. He should not act as a vice president for campaign of access to power, because some people abuse his office where they will come, Your Excellency, Anakaman Matawalta, my uncle, someone. So I think you need to take up that in terms of the. But in terms of the economic situation, why it's worsening, I don't think I blame young people. Actually, I blame the failure of the country transitioning from the instability to stability, which is a collective responsibility. And I will give also a blame to the elders. Where we are suffering does not mean South Sudanese love violence. Does not mean South Sudan is broke. Does not mean South Sudan is not ready transition. But unfortunately, we have elders who have assumed themselves actually they are the nation. We have elders in politics who have assumed that they are the country. Their decision represent the decision of the citizens. If we want to question them, then they want to use certain powers around them to intimidate, to harass, to challenge. That for me is the biggest. And that's why I would like to tell you that if you look at the post-conflict countries, and I have to be honest, dear my sister, I know sometimes it will be challenged to our audience. A post-conflict country that the decision makers, most of them constitute an age above 70. If that age above 70 in any post-conflict situation constitute decision making of a country, the success of the country in post-conflict transition to a successful generation is very minimum. Why? Because they want to recover what they assume they have lost. during their young age. And that's why the proof right now, if you see, is West Africa. Look at Burkina Faso. When these young people are coming, now look at the development they're doing. But ask those elders who are asking, I don't know what's going out there, keep on shouting. You know this elderly, the Traores and the Omade, people are almost hitting 200 plus years are presidents. Look at when the young ones came from West Africa. Now look at the progress going in these young countries that recently, yes, we can call the coup. Young people came to power with coup, but at least those coups have bring development. Look at agricultural revolution they're taking out now in the Sahel region. So for me, I wish that we are not promoting young people to be aggressors, to be anything, but I promote young people to become productive. And His Excellency Benjamin Bol Mel had a great chance to act as a vice president in the presidency for productivity, and God enough bless him with a cluster that's a very critical cluster that they can thrive. So I think for me, they have a big opportunity in bringing all the source of the revenue together. And I've seen when the game of name and shame started, and I think that's a good indicator it started. When he started shaming and naming some revenue ministries, and it is a case study. I've been reading literature recently when that idea that they published that this list of ministries must remit their money to a central, and it's a call of His Excellency President. I remember the current Minister of Finance when he was taking off, President told him very clear, yeah, kind of they are very few groups, like in few you katir, guarding like a few groups. This time go and create a central account. And I've seen what the Vice President of Economic Class have done.
With what he has done, don't you think they're going to decampaign him?
Obviously, that's what I'm coming back to the youth league of the SPLM. Within the party he came from, what level of support are the party members supporting him in the reforms? Because sometimes you come to realize that there are elders in the party that will say, Asma, General Secretary, what does he want to tell us? We are the liberators. But okay, you have liberated us in a different scenario, the context is totally different, and that's why these elders who assume they're the nation, as long they don't give His Excellency Bol Mel the space, it's going to be tough with him. So
but don't you think it is even the young ones who are decampaigning? Because all these positions they campaign
obviously
for,
the young ones will take advantage. For instance, there's this political culture of competition among young people. What does he want to show us and who is he? So that's that campaign comes out. And these campaigns come from where? This campaign comes from young people who I will say, they don't have priorities, they just love power. If you start campaigning, like for example, all of them here, the leaders, they sit in there everywhere. But the unfortunate thing with young people is that also when you have young people whom their mindset politically like to hurry for the gains through political engagement, that's where the crisis is. And that's why you see when the political parties is split into groups, the young politicians want the shortcut. So for me, it is a test for His Excellency Bol Mel. I have confidence in him that he can perform, but I'm quite sure he will face huge resistance from young aspirants who want to pull him down.
All right, coming from Parliament.
Let me interject a bit. I think the whole discussion here is about His Excellency Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel.
Yes.
But we are bringing him as an example of a young man who has been promoted to the position
Of course.
president. Now, you are talking about the support of the party, whether the party has a full support behind him.
You have to back him up.
I can assure you the party is 100%, behind Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel. Because this position of Vice President for Economic Cluster is a center.
Yeah,
it's a center for everything. Actually, it's a livelihood of the people of South Sudan. Now, what Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel is going to do now is look at the life of the people. As we speak now, our people need food on their table. This is the most important thing. And that's why recently you have heard him saying we are going to very soon conduct an agricultural conference. This is very important. It did not just come from blue. This agricultural conference will come out with very good modalities and recommendations on how food can be provided on the tables of our people. You have also seen also our educational system. It's very weak. This is also, it has got some connection with the economy. It is going to be what?
Investment.
Yeah, exactly. Many good things that are related to economy are going to be put right because Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel, as most of you colleagues have said, is going to prove himself. Not only himself, but the young people. That the young people can do it. He is going to bring us up through what he will do there. So the young people of the party are fully behind him, and the whole party membership are behind Comrade Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel so that he succeeds. If he succeeds, the party succeeds, the nation succeeds.
Dear viewer of SSBC PowerHouse with Akuch Maker, we are taking a short break. When we come back, we shall discuss more questions coming up on youth perspectives on political participation, a case of recent appointment of Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel. Let's take a short break.
Welcome to Powerhouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
Hello, dear viewer of SSBC. Welcome back from that short break. Now to proceed, even the dominant of older politicians in SPLM top leadership, do you feel that young people are still perceived as too inexperienced for decision-making roles? We have seen from the top hierarchy, there's no young person being represented there. Are you people still inexperienced?
I think you cannot climb a tree from top to bottom. You start from down up. So
you people haven't started yet?
You don't expect young people to be in the top echelon of the party when they are not yet brought up.
How?
As we speak, we have a good number of young people in the political bureau of the SPLM. And this is the top body of the party. Many of us, we are about 6 of us in the political bureau. I'm one of the members of the political bureau.
None of you is qualified to join the top leadership.
This is the top leadership of the party now. When we talk of political bureau is the top decision making of the party. That's how the party works. So we have about 6 of us as young people there. This is enough representation, beyond 20%.
The top 5?
Which top 5?
The chairperson, the deputy, the SGs.
Yes, of course. Recently the former SG was a young man. Yeah. So that was the representation, so it was not bad actually. The previous SGs were not too old, but were in the middle age. But the previous one, who was replaced by His Excellency Dr. James Wanika, was a young man. So I can say there was good representation. There is good representation of young people in the party. Yes.
Okay, how are young people responding to political decision-making roles, Honorable Guy? Now that they have been appointed, they are all everywhere. How are they responding? How are you people responding now that you are the chairperson of Specialized Committee on Sport and Youth?
You mean generally? Well, I think that puts me in a position of having to speak for all the young people. But I can say for a fact that majority of the youth are disgruntled. Not because the fellow youth are in leadership and not because the system is not delivering to them. I think what everybody is interested in is service delivery, and with putting our things right and delivering to this, part of the population, which actually constitutes the majority, 73% of the population. They will be satisfied. But right now, there is disillusionment, there is despair, there is frustration all over, and it is not solved by merely putting young people in a position of leadership. Of course, like I said earlier on, there's hope in seeing themselves at the decision-making table, especially the top level of decision-making, such as where Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel has come, and they do now feel somebody who appreciates the challenges has come to the right place and can be able to do things directly. In other places, like in the parliament where I've been, there's nothing much we can do to serve young people. Our hands are tied by many circumstances. Like in parliament, we only have to do legislation. We do oversight on the executive, and our work ends there. I see other young people in other roles have tried their best. Like Comrade Potkan, for example, has been the Minister of Petroleum. And I've seen he has championed a lot of reforms in that oil sector, and as far as the unified manual for human resource, which increased the earnings and the welfare of young people working in the oil sector, and also, you know, reducing exploitation by foreigners. Other young people, you know, contrary to what Brother Yakandi was saying, that young people are corrupt. None of them are corrupt. The young people have delivered in different, you know, walks of life, and they are doing well. They're doing well. We have the ICT sector, you know, controlled by someone like Napoleon Adok, who is not very old as well, and is doing his best. And many other places, you know, which I may not mention in details. So I think we are moving in the right direction. Young people are not happy generally because there's, you know, there is insufficient service delivery, but there is hope.
And we should do that.
Yeah.
Insufficient delivery, we should do that.
It is government as a whole. It is not just young people who are in government.
Young people are a part of the government. Honorable Moro, what do you think?
Well, young people, according to me, are responding very well to leadership roles. When I came here in 2018, I was assigned the role of the head of Secretariat for Joint Military Ceasefire Commission. The current force that has been graduated, it was under my stewardship as the head of Secretariat, with the two co-chairs who was Garkor Galwak and then Charles Madura, which to me was a success, and up to now that is the only force that we do. And also was assigned a position of a Minister of Local Government in Central Equatoria State, which we worked very well, stabilizing security in the state. And also I'm happy that the list of investigation that came out with those that were corrupt in one way, I was not in that list, which proves the point that it is not every young man that can be corrupt. The young people are also responding to leadership through forming civil society organizations, community NGOs, as a way of preparing them into a leadership role. We have also young people in the parliament who are currently parliamentarians, and of course they are doing well. They are doing well in aspects of advocating for reforms and also trying to be part of the process in decision making. The challenge is that we are about to create a society where if you do not have a godfather, your survival in politics becomes very difficult, even if you're a good performer. And this is where possibly we may be transiting a generation of impunity at some point. So the fact that young people are engaging in various activities, forming groups, is a preparation for them to come to leadership. But again, appointing people should be done on merit. It should not be based on, okay, I have someone behind me who can take me for an appointment. It should be based on merit. It should be based on how you have evolved to reach that level. That is most important. Because to be very sincere, you cannot appoint someone just for the purposes of maybe qualifying from the university direct to a ministerial portfolio without going through the processes. That's why you see there are parties, there are organizations that train these people. And then if we have to identify those that have prepared themselves for this role. Not just anybody, because he has a godfather or a godmother.
All right, Yakani, how should these young people respond to political decision-making roles, apart from what they are saying now?
Yeah, there are case studies of young people who have done their best in the government. And there are cases where young people have challenged decision-making and it was reversed for best. So it means if young people want to respond effectively to decision-making, they need to be proactive. They need to be reactive. They need to be in advance. They need to set the narrative. They need to look weight to be given They need to challenge, they need to confront in a very responsible manner, in a very constructive manner. That's the way how young people can respond to leadership. And I say there are quite a number of them that I've seen have been doing the best. And I remember when I was saying one of my arguments is that also young people are corrupt. And I remember I don't generalize. If I didn't use the word some, but of course it's some, that way we can't indulge, simply because there are quite a number of good records of people looking for that will come up, that we don't take all young people are corrupt. But I think young people need to be proactive. But also, young people need to walk out from what Moro was saying, Godfather, is what we call the politics of the uncle. So if we still play the politics of the uncles, decision-making of the uncles, that's going to be a bit problematic. So we need to walk away from the terms of the uncles, whereby as a young person, you have somebody who you believe on, that without this person, my tenure in political seats become a big challenge. So I think also young people need to stand independently. In the political parties, they need to stand up, they need to challenge the system, because democracy begins within the party. So I think that's how young people need to respond, is be proactively and responding responsibly. And of course, our call is that as young people, let's try to abstain from any malpractices. As I'm aware that not all of us are in the malpractices, some of us are in the malpractice. So those some of us, we need to approach it in that you need to be clean, you have a track record to deliver. The other challenge to young people here is that in the country also is that they need to take into account progressive politics. Not this politics of distractions where you start campaigning your own fellow young person in power, because I have seen a clash on political decisions among young people that have led to consequences. And to be honest, I would use one case that is Moro himself. He knows it. The current deputy governor of Central Equatoria knows it. Being a young people, where you all sit young and start questioning democracy, your own fellow colleagues will start exercising powers that they have against you because they believe you're age mates or you are not equal. So for me also, is a call for young people in making is that we need to support each other and we need to embrace democracy without taking it negative or without attacking personalities, making sure that, and because one of the things that also are jealous, when your colleagues become progressive, for here, four of us, you give us an example and see to take us, all of us now to break the presidency. You will get shocked and actually among us to start fighting each other, simply because that element of being jealous, being ego, and I think that's what some of us need to work out from that.
And that takes us to the next question. Youth have often been labeled as instigators of conflict and as having a negative mindset, with media portrayal sometimes fueling these perceptions. Now that these young people they have been doing these executive positions, do you think the government should view them differently, the youth?
I think young people should be viewed as a positive players. Why? Because they have long opportunity in life in running the affairs of the public. So they should be seen positive players. But also some young people need to take responsibility. I'm politically, right from my university days, I'm so keen in politics. Actually, come to realize people who call themselves die-hard in a political party and sometimes even support the weakness of their party, the misleading of their party, and the young people have been used as a force to resist. And that's why the young people being proactive, not only following what people want. I think that's what for me should be seen much more. And that's why I'm using the case study of the West Africa. You know, when young people take the nation as a responsibility, that I need to do something for generation to come to pick up from, you become more productive. Of course, that doesn't mean that all young people are like that. And I've seen in the history of university politics, in the history of political parties, even here in South Sudan. Today, some of the people, if you challenge a political party leader as a person who sits in a public office, actually the young people of that particular political party become more aggressors than really taking a time to observe why are you challenging that. That for me, that's what comes in that young people need to listen. But in general, young people are positive agent of change. And I will use really the case study of West Africa. This new change in West Africa is a good case study. And I think in South Sudan also is a good case study that young people are being patient. For example, in South Sudan, if young people are not being patient, would have been the street. But because young people are patient and they still give a hope, a chance that to go. But of course, this patient one day, one time will wipe out. The other class of young people that we need to make it, and I would like the opportunity to speak here, is our young people who are in the diaspora, who tend to use hate speech, hostile propaganda, misinformation, disinformation as an instrument of buying public attention. That's really very bad. Not all of them, it is some of them. and even some of them move negatively against their colleagues who are already in politics. Instead of aiding them, supporting them, backing them up, they start writing nonsense about individuals who are in power with the false allegations that sometimes does not represent the reality. So those are some of the things that we need to work out as a young people, is that once your young person is in power, you might have seen His Excellency Bol Mel have never even taken 6 months. People start writing about him, start questioning his credibility, and if you see most of this what is what they're the young people. Instead of coming, backing up like what Moro have said, is that our responsibility is regardless of the party he comes from, is regardless of where he comes from. It is now us to say, okay, this opportunity, let's walk back up this opportunity and let's run behind it and writing rubbish and nonsense. And we have seen how much young people in social media, some of them have really provided a wrong image of the nation.
Honorable Guy, as the chairperson of the Specialized Committee on Youth and Sport, what message should you give these young people on social media who are actually fueling the whole situation? Like they're focusing on the negativity instead of positive part. There's no balancing on social media.
What everybody should bear in mind is that we must be united as a country. We should not work towards our disintegration. Some of these tendencies, divisive propaganda on social media, hate speech, and personality attacks, and focusing on issues which are not objective. They don't contribute to our national unity. They push us towards disintegration, and that does not do us any good as a country. If we must criticize objectively. We must focus on issues. We must pave the way forward. We shouldn't be subversive. We shouldn't be dragging ourselves down and making our environment, political environment, social environment so toxic, for everybody and hindering progress. So I encourage the fellow youth to be constructive in their criticism. I'm not saying you keep quiet, you do not speak when there is something we need to be talked about, but everybody should be constructive. No need for personality attacks, no need for for tarnishing the images of our leaders. Leaders should be respected. Leaders should be accorded respect so that they can deliver. And when they fail to deliver, they can be criticized. They can be reminded in a more polite way for everybody to be on the right track.
Honorable Aboja, how can youth inclusion be institutionalized in government and political structures?
Before I come to that, I think it is important to say something about the response of the young people when they see some of their colleagues now being appointed in the government. Yes, of recent, after the successive appointment of Dr. Benjamin Bol Mel and Minister of Finance and others who are appointed as secretaries, we have seen now very many young people developing interest in politics with the hope that they can also be appointed. While this is good, but it is important to tell the young people that government cannot accommodate everyone. If all of us become politicians and we want to be appointed in the government, this is not enough. There is wealth outside there. If you are not in the government, you can actually become independent, create job for yourself, like those who are in civil society. They are well off than those in the government. As we speak now, those who are paid by the civil society organizations have a lot of money than those in the government. So young people should also, while being in the government is good, they should also know that not everyone can be accommodated in the government. You should create your own job so that you come self-reliance alone. 1. 2, when young people pick interest in political positions, this is what sometimes lead to corruption. Because when you come there, you want to, amass wealth for yourself, through means that are not actually good. And this leads to corruption, as mentioned by some of my colleagues here. This is important to note, that we cannot all be accommodating the government. Secondly, talking about corruption, yes, everybody almost is corrupt. especially some civil society organizations, are very corrupt than government officials. Some of them, maybe with the exception of SEPO.
How did you rate them?
Yeah, we have seen many civil society organizations bringing money outside the country, but they divert this money for their personal use. This is corruption of the highest order. We were in the Office of Anti-Corruption with the Honorable Moro. So we are trained on how to track corruption. And in my own perspective,
so have you tracked one in the government?
Those who are more corrupt are those outside the government, not those in the government. It is the opposite. Only that those in the government are public figures. They are seen. People say you are corrupt because they see you. But a lot of corruption is taking place behind closed doors. This is very important to note. How the government should view the young people, because this was the second question I did not answer, isn't it? And is that
in governance, yes,
in governance,
political structures.
Yes, it depends on how the young people actually behave themselves. You see, how you behave yourself in public or in private matters a lot. So the government brings you to leadership position on how you behave yourself. You cannot be too radical. You cannot be against the government. You cannot be abusing the system day and night, and you expect yourself to be in the system. This is wrong. This is being unpatriotic. And also, I want to agree largely with my colleagues who talk about the misuse of social media by the young people. Social media, from the word social, it is meant for socialization, not for attacking personalities. In our country here is completely very, very different. So the young people should be patriotic enough, not all the young people, but those who are using social media, you should be patriotic enough. You see, use social media forcibly for the advancement of the unity of the people of this country, but not the opposite. See, this is very important. And the last question?
That was it. Yakani, you will be labeled as part of, as the corrupt people in the country, not the other way around. You've been talking about corruption on other platform whereby some of the young ones are the corrupt. So civil society, where do you take money to? You divert it to where?
With the good enough with the exception, we try to pull us out that corruption is a practice in any public institutions, be it in the private sector, the non-governmental sector, the faith-based sector. Like I used to question religious leaders, our orphanage of every Sunday that we withdraw in. When we account for them, we say, no, the man of Jesus cannot be accounted for. Why? Because we don't see schools and health centers. Yes, I don't think that I can take a responsibility to say completely civil society is free from corruption or from malpractices. I can't really out that. We have seen individuals who come to the civil society with the intention of accessing money and running away. No, but they don't stay long. They disappear because accountability is needed. And actually, we have a very robust accountability system to the owners of the money that give us, the donors that give us the money. Then you find rather our accountability become harder. So I can't rule off that there is no civil society that are corrupt. There are those who are corrupt and they are unable to survive. They have a short, what do you call a lifespan that is very short. They couldn't deliver long. It's as equal as. But the issue that why we tend to much more focus rating the corruption in the public institutions is really the junk of the money you walk away with it. That junk of money that you walk away with it, it's really very disturbing. And if you see, it goes to the level that sometimes, I want to use a case study. Look at Juba Teaching Hospital. If we go to India to seek medicine, treatment, if we go to Kampala to seek treatment, can our status equals to those who are dying in the mattress with Juba Teaching Hospital? And sometimes they're dying with minor kids than the one we're going to such outside. So why don't we have the medical services in the country? Or because we have that privilege of seeing a public institution that we can buy tickets. And sometimes these tickets actually rescue the life of 10 children in El Sabah Hospital. And we go to India and find no children come back. So the tickets of going forth and back, it really equals. Then when you assess the cost of the expenses versus the actual physical allocation from the public treasury against this person, you can see the big difference that are there. So I think for me, those are the calls that corruption not only applies specifically look at one sector, it's almost in every sector. But also corruption is a moral responsibility. If you don't take that moral responsibility to say, look here, I want to take this money to stand for my people and to go about my people, that is it. That's why you see, I'm not challenging my colleagues who are with me here in politics, but I'm just questioning them that if they're in politics, this tendency of you having a kitchen Land Cruiser and a Land Cruiser of the visit, and when you are reshuffled, some of these Land Cruisers will go together where the kitchen is, from the public kitchen goes to a private kitchen. This is really, and it's a trend. We've been saying it. We've been saying it a trend, South Sudan, that leaders get government vehicles if they leave. Some of them even they knock the car for the sake of saying the car is already gone, or they hide the car. So these are all things that we need to put into a right track, but not all of them. Of course, it's few there. And that's why I wanted the person who says South Sudan is not broke. We're not broke, we're rich. I keep on traveling this Juba-Nimule road. And sometimes I go in Nimule, I hide myself, sit in a very small chaos, and you see the way how we count money. And when that money could have been remitted to the treasury, it could have helped us a lot. That's what happened. And if you see the number of the traffics, and if you see the kickbacks that traffics collect from the streets of Juba, if that money is supposed to be formalized in public treasury, so I think for me, corruption is a moral responsibility that we need to take it up. Of course, as I said, Simultan is there. And I wish that the government should allow our general auditor, Stephen Wondu, to exercise his mandate so that we can check the book like what Honorable has said, that when Selve was investigated.
Is he not allowed?
It is a political game. It's a political game. Let me tell you, for example.
And maybe he's also playing his politics.
Had you asked Honorable, he's the chairperson of a specialized committee in the parliament. We have audit report of 2012, if I'm not mistaken. It's hanging over the parliament. It's hanging over the parliament. It is hanging in the parliament. I've been following. I've been keen on the agenda of the corruption. That's really hanging in the parliament. Today, go and say open the books, and if you go to our parliament, he's a parliamentarian. The parliament say, the code of conduct of the parliament say, of course, he's a ruling party where his members go. And that's why you see when you see party members in a party premises, not in the government, they are so protective of the party members who are in the government. Until the time when you go to the government, it's no longer in the party. Then you come to realize that, oh, this is a different thing between being a protective, a die-hard. I like, by the way, I like the way even you could see the way how he stand up, make sure that the visibility of the party is in the forefront. That's the die-hard. So for me, it comes in the question of you must ensure that you allow the state to function. Parliament is passing a budget without audits, without a quarterly report from Minister of Finance, who is obstructing it. It's the ethics, it's moral. So I think for me, it's a call.
All right.
We should be agent of positive change in the studio here until when we go to the government. Of course, some of us one day may sit in the big seats of the country. So this interview will be a testimony whether what we say here will prove at that time.
Country will transition next year according to the sources. And according to the roadmap, the election has been extended to 2026 December. And hopefully, we are hoping that it will work out this time around, since that is the third time it has been extended. So how can youth be formally and informally engaged in the electoral process, Moro?
Thank you very much for this question, but I would want to answer something in relation to social media before I would come to this question.
Time.
One thing with the leadership is that you may get the best out of a leader, or you may get the worst out of a leader. If you push the leader to the wall, they start making wrong decisions. But when you support the leaders, love them, contribute towards their success, give them certainties, then they will work for the betterment of the country.
All right.
Now the question is,
yes,
what do we want from these leaders? The best from them or the worst from them? As a country, definitely we want the best from them. So we need to use social media in the positive way possible to move this country forward.
Now we are in election.
To election. Yes, this is a timeline that was agreed for the extension. And of course, our role as leaders is to make sure that we disseminate the provisions of the agreement. And in this particular context, We have the issue of constitutional making, which we will have to disseminate to the people that it is a freedom of expression and choice at this particular time. And whatever you say will also be determined by the rest of the majority. So we are, the constitutional making process presents a democratic process. That either your view will be taken if you can convince the majority, or it will not be taken. So we will have to respect the outcome, the outlook of the constitution that is going to come based on the consultation and then the conference that is going to happen. This is number one. Number two, the aspect of reconciliation. We know that when this conflict started, so many things happened. We insulted ourselves, we killed ourselves, sometimes unknowingly or knowingly. Maybe what I said somewhere affected another person somewhere. So this is the process that we need to start reconciling among ourselves and forgive ourselves, such that we will not reach to an extent of attacking people who are coming for campaigns and so on. So the responsibility to transition this country peacefully rests on us. But the biggest thing that we would want to see happen is the dialogue among the top leaders and also consensus on moving this country forward.
Talking of that, reconciliation, we have seen recently the SSPDF has been deployed or is in Nasser, where they are going to do disarmament according to what we heard. But the White Army, on the other hand, we don't know what is really happening. So what can you say, Yakane, regarding that? I've
been fully engaged on that particular exercise. One of the worst part of that exercise is misinformation. Misinformation have led that particular exercise almost becoming deadly. And of course, as I said, I've been fully engaged in it until, as we speak today, His Excellency First Vice President have engaged the youth people, at least there's a ceasefire as we speak now, just correcting the misinformation. So I think that's for me the worst part of it, because I've been speaking to some of the White Army leaders, the County Commission of Ulan Nasser, is that I think one of the best things is that South Sudanese, we need to be really patient enough with our wishes of securing stability in the country, and we need to walk away from this information. And there are people who are sitting somewhere who like to see people killing themselves. For them, that's the agenda, and we need to challenge that particular group of people who are providing this information. That's what I would say. For the elections, honestly, my message before I could close is that young people start campaigning, start becoming aspirants, start defining the constituency. And good enough that if things goes well, we're having soon a presidency meeting, we need to see the leaders who take decisions to start giving election chance. Election is the only viable option for us to transition from.
Okay. So, Honorable Guy, do you think election can solve political instability in the country? If yes, how is it possible? And yet there is lack of political will in the country.
Yes, as you're well aware, election is not just an event, it's a process. The election that we're talking about to be conducted in 2026, it starts now. It starts with the preparations, setting all conditions, all the conducive, all the prerequisites for an election in place. So that by the time we arrive at it, we have closed all the gaps and all the loopholes we can give way to instability and to other chaos. So we have that chance now to ensure we have the permanent constitution, we have security arrangement in place so that issues like what you've just asked about what's happening in Nasser, they do not arise, because we want everybody to campaign freely all over South Sudan without fear of insecurity and without any problem come 2026, December 2026. So yes, election is going to solve many issues in governance, but then it is the implementation of the RRCs that will pave way to successful elections and to the successful end of the transition and venturing into a democratic era going forward.
Maybe just to accord something that I don't want to miss. This is one of the case studies of Nasser. Bol Mel has proved himself as a young person who wants to see peace. He's also engaged with the chiefs, engaged with the Wadabi, engaged with the commissioner. I hope if he's watching SSBC,
so that is a good start.
That's a good start for him. That's a good record for him. As directly to contribute to what Honorable have said, preconditions. I hope he will become the agent of making preconditions met.
Okay. SPLM, your last 30 seconds only.
Yeah, thank you
we are
so
done.
much. It is important advocates to achieve two very important things. One, put an end to this transitional government. Two, the citizens will have a chance to elect a government of their choice. This is very important. So it doesn't matter that all the requirements will be put in place. Up to now, we have not yet completed the CPA. As we speak, the CPA has not been.
So we can do away with some of
the things we can do away with them. And I'm sure the citizens of South Sudan know where they can go. And the SPLM is always there.
Honorable Moro.
Yes, to interject.
30 seconds.
To interject on this matter, if this is what you want me to answer.
Yeah.
The reason we are saying there has to be dialogue among the leaders is to see what can be implemented and what cannot be implemented, so that they can be able to make compromises. You know, we can transition the same existing government in a manner that is reduced and lean to post the election, and that will be based on agreement of the leaders at the top. So that the aspect of insecurity and so on, you know, there is no insecurity that can happen at the grassroots without being steered in Juba.
So
the issues are in Juba. That's why we need this consensus and then see what is it that we can be able to do and what is it that we cannot be able to do. If there is this consensus, then message reaches the ground, the people will respect and the election will go forward.
Dear view of SSBC PowerHouse with Akuch Maker, we have come to an end of our interview with young politicians who are representing different political parties. And we were talking to Daniel Aboja Ali, who is the chairperson of the SPLM Youth League, Honorable Guy Mayen Luke, chairperson of the Specialized Committee on Youth and Sport in the National Assembly, Honorable Moro Isaac, chairperson of South Sudan National Movement for Change, who is also the SOA spokesperson and the executive director of Community Empowerment for Progress, Edmond Hiakani, who have been so resourceful on the youth perspective on political participation following the recent appointment. You have heard from them what they have said. Even now they're saying you can start preparing yourself for the election. Even if you want presidency position, you can campaign for it. Bye-bye for now. On behalf of the team, I am Akuch Maker, and we thank you for joining us this time.
Welcome to PowerHouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is PowerHouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.